So we have, wow, look at all this information. We have a 236 HoYoung.
Oh yeah.
How are you
I
liking
think
HoYoung?
it's
Oh.
yeah, so I've been I've been a long time player, I guess, so I'm a
Mm-hmm.
returning player. And then before Reboot, I was playing on a private server, so I
Mm-hmm.
got to try all the new characters. And then the one that really stuck with me was HoYoung, so
Mm-hmm.
that was just the one I chose to main when I played on Reboot. And then yeah, so just ever since I've just stuck with HoYoung.
You get to play the fifth job skills because you have easier access on private servers, I would assume.
Yeah, so and also because just leveling to fourth job is a lot easier, so I could just quickly try out all the new fourth jobs,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, so I just pretty much tried out all the new classes, and then HoYoung was the one.
Cool. And what have you like achieved on your character so far? Like, what kind of player are you in the game in general?
Uh, so I did a solo progression to CVAL.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Stevo, I wanted to speed things up a bit, and then also I just wanted to like quicken the progress. So I got so with Lotus, I got like the one carry, and then the rest of it was kind of my own effort. But then with Damien, I got carried mostly for the equips.
Mm-hmm.
But and then for Golux, I've also gotten some coin runs.
Mm-hmm.
But largely speaking, it's been mostly just my own effort. And then now I'm practicing solo Damien, and I'm also missing to solo the CPAP.
And Galax wise, are you able to Helix solo?
Oh yeah, so I started soloing Helix last week,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm now on around 520 coins.
All right, nice.
So yeah, so it's I mean at first it was quite stressful because I was stressing about having to always use green pot and guild skills,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh and then just worrying about sort of a wastage there. But after I started doing it, I was just mostly do it daily now.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping for the equips to drop for me.
Yeah. You can still feel in the beginning. I assume you can still feel that progress you're making. That like every run gets faster and faster, and then after a while, you don't have to
Yeah.
use all of your best buffs to still get the same results.
But with my damage, it's kind of on a store right now because I'm waiting for the 5, 10, 15.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So in terms of speed, it's just kind of the same every day, but
Mm-hmm.
it's getting a lot comfier because I'm just getting more used to the phase 1. And then when it gets to phase 2, the pattern is actually quite recognizable, where he just does the hand thing and then does this sort of a
Yeah, it's
warm-up
generally
attack.
generally on a pattern. It's still sometimes the same pattern, but sometimes the sequence is a little bit faster, right? Like there's not
Mm,
the same amount of time in between the attacks most of the time, but they usually in the same order. Yeah. And you
So
probably
yeah,
also noticed that with Vellum, right? As you did that boss more, where it's like, oh, if he comes out like
oh yeah,
fully,
like
yeah,
I would notice about the tails for the fireball move, and
mm-hmm.
then if the tails were, I think it was actually from one of your videos as well, where you were doing a Siva run with someone.
Mm-hmm.
But the one tip I got from that was if you don't see the tails, usually it's the fireballs, and then you just dodge the rocks, and then
Yeah, yeah.
largely speaking, is the most important things.
Yeah, once you get kind of used to the rhythm of the attacks, but mostly how long the attacks last, your muscle memory allows you to just dodge situations that could be hazardous without even knowing that they are, and then that just it saves you so many times because you know like there could be something here that kills me now, so you're erring on the side of caution. Whereas in the beginning, you're like you don't know what's possibly going to happen, so you just end up jumping into fireballs. You end up so to get blindsided by a rock, and you're like, oh, one rock will hit me. That's not too bad. But then it's like rock and then dive right over it, and you die. And you're like, oh, so that can happen. Yeah. Sometimes you just have
Yeah.
to make every mistake twice or three times, and then you know what is like a high risk situation and what is a lower risk situation, and you learn to do way better risk assessment and like when do I use my iframe, what do I save them for, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So so I'm now just working on the Damien solo, and
Mm-hmm.
then
Have you soloed Lotus?
uh, yeah, I have solo Lotus.
Okay, nice.
Um, yeah, and then also with CPAP, I haven't even started looking at that yet. I wasn't really sure
Mm-hmm.
where the difficulty of that one was. Was it is it before or is it after? But I'm just focusing on Damien.
I would say CPAP is, so in the order that I would say in general is you'll have like 3-door, then CVEL, then Hard Magnus, and then probably then CPAP, then Helix, then either Lotus or Damien, which is kind of class dependent, right? If you have good survivability, you can dash through the lasers, you have knockback resistance, then Lotus is easier. Or knockdown resistance, I should say, right? You don't get pushed and stuff off of platforms. Then Lotus is technically easier. But if you can do a lot of static damage to Damien while he's in the air, then Damien is way easier because it's just about like managing your stacks, and that's kind of it. And then you just kill him in time. But if he's up in the air a lot and you only have like horizontal moves, he's just untargetable for like 35 to 40% of the fight, and then you're just kind of waiting for him to come down, use a bind and burst, and then just waiting to repeat that once the bind is back. So that kind of depends. So yeah, I like damage wise, it should definitely be within your capabilities, but the mechanics are quite tricky. But I do have a video on it that has helped a lot of people in how to kill it. In the video, I think I kill it with my Adele. Yeah, for CPAP specifically.
Okay.
So I have
Yeah,
I do something more than I do with the other ones, where I have a run that I recorded, and then I go through the run narrating like all the decisions I make and why I make them, like why I stand where I stand, and what you can do in that situation if you don't have your iframe, for example. So I try to highlight what your options are and what the dangers are and where you need to stand and everything. But I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the video that it helped a lot of people. So.
So I was just gonna plan on just trying it first, and then once I have a sort of understanding of what's happening, I'll probably look at the video, and then I'll probably understand the video a lot more then.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think if you do like a big bind burst, well, I'll let you just yeah. I'm not gonna like spoil it for you, but it's quite something. The first time is something, yeah.
Okay. I'm looking forward.
Yeah, just look at his animations very closely. Okay. Look at like his summoning animations for skills, and yeah. So yeah, I would say it should be within your capabilities. If you're able to solo Lotus, then CPAP damage wise definitely possible. And you have 2 iframes, which should be strategically used in the boss fight as well. So and you only have 5 lives. So it's kind of the same as Lotus in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll just give it a go first and then see what happens. Kind of how bossing really is in Maple Story.
For sure, yeah.
You just have to, yeah. Because I hear like most of the time you're just a bit hesitant to start it going.
Yeah.
But you're just like wondering if you have enough damage, and then
like
I noticed this with guildies as well. They're always asking for like the stat requirements for bosses, but I've kind of learned over the time is that you kind of just do it and then you just see what happens.
Oh yeah, you'll have people with double your stat who can't do what you can do just because they haven't tried ever. And if you start trying, because I think my Adele did CPAP, I think with half your stat at like level 212 or something, I think, in the video. And it takes a bit longer, but I wanted to run that was longer so I could showcase more of the mechanics of the boss, right? But I have the experience of like 200 runs from all my other characters combined, so that's I know those rhythms, right? I know those attacks, I know those patterns, I know those rhythms. So to apply it to a new character, that's a nice test for me because it's like a little bit of an extra challenge. But at the same time, I have a huge advantage, of course, because I have my Legion, I have my Lynx. Like the character is way stronger than the average character would be at that level. And on top, I already know all of the boss mechanics. So I can still get frustrated, but that's because I'm used to surviving something. And then if I die to it, then that's frustrating for me. But that frustration for me is good motivation to, get better and to try again. And yeah, I do agree with what you're saying, is that a lot of people tend to they want to get to a point where the risk of failure is like below 5% or something. And then they'll start trying. But for me, the most fun is the first time having like 80% or 90% failure. And then seeing, because then you can see that drop dramatically and you can feel like you're making a lot of progress. Because if you're going from like 90%, 95% chance of success to like 98% of chance of success, there's like no room for growth there, right? So yeah, I do agree with you on that. Well, that's why I made the, I don't know if some of my commands are specifically catered to that. Specifically like dailies and the progression command. So if your guildies are like worried what they can do, I have a video that talks about like what is a good indicator for damage, and it's not just stat. There's a lot of other stuff, but that as long as you fall within the limits of all of these parameters, that you can basically use your level as an indicator instead. And then I have a grid that says at this level you can try these bosses. And I would always advise people, kind of like you're saying, to like just say, hey, just go in and try. Like the only way you can waste your run is by not using it at all. That's the guaranteed way of wasting your run for that day or for that week. But if you go in and you fail, but you learn something from it, then it's a successful run, right? And then the next time you'll get further. And then the next time you'll maybe die to the same thing and you're like, oh shit, I forgot about that thing. And then you'll get better at it.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do agree also, like looking at a boss guide video is very important. I really only started doing that for hard will actually. Before that I learned everything myself. Because just what you're saying, like you want to have that experience yourself. But even if you watch like a video that talks about every single thing, shows you all the animations, all the hitboxes, everywhere to stand, it's still going to be different once you're playing it, and you still have to do it yourself. Like especially for hard will, for example, or normal will, the phase 2, it looks really easy when you see someone on stream do it, and they can show you like, hey, you need to stand here, you need to stand here. But unless you go in with a party and just clown around and fail it like 5 times in a row and get like super frustrated at each other, and the first guy dies out and the second guy dies out, like unless you do that 2 or 3 times, you're just not going to get the hang of it. You need that hands-on experience. So I appreciate that you're willing to just like try it first and then look at the video for some extra tips, then probably try it 2 or 3 more times, and then if it doesn't work at all, then you'll really like sit down and watch the whole video. Yeah. I assume that's I think that's a good strategy to go about it.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's more short term. So like a long term is you went to hard lucid, hard will, like that's the
so
purpose?
So really the long-term goal is to just get to 250, and then with the Legion, I'm currently at 3.7k, so I'd like also to go to the 6k Legion, and then I would like to get my gear to 17 star and then 2-line legendary, and then really see how far damage-wise that is, and then I'll see at that point if I need to upgrade further or not.
Yep. Yeah, that seems solid. There is kind of a meta shift at hand, right? Where we don't know if going for like 20 or 21 Abzo before, like until we have the confirmation of the change of the drop rate for both the droplets, addition to the new areas, and the increase in drop rate for the Umbra gear, I would have said to everyone like aim for 20 or 21 Abzo. And that's going to get you like all over the game. That's going to allow you to do anything. And that's going to be the cheapest and the fastest way of getting that strong. But now with the addition, I think there is a very solid argument that can be made towards going for maybe 17 or 18 Abzo and then just keeping that for a long time and then moving into Arcane from there. But it will depend on how quickly you get some drops and how quickly you get into the parties and start clearing properly. But with all the power spike we've been having, specifically with the guild skills, the 30% crit damage is insane. Because we have access to buff freezers, that does allow you to keep it for the whole boss run. So as long as your mechanics in these bosses are good enough and you start clearing on a weekly basis, you can realistically expect some drops. But that's how I started out, and then I went like a year and a half, I think, without any drops. So that was like my goal in the outset. But I have seen at least 1 drop since the change now, so we'll see if that keeps going. But I am running the boss. The boss is at least 5 specific hard boss fights now per week. And I wouldn't really expect until you're running the Tenebris bosses as well. So we're talking like Gloom, Darknell, Varicella. But at that point, you're like 260, 265. So that's still a while away.
At that point, you usually have some 21 stars as well.
Yeah, so the question would be is if you need that, you probably will get 20 to 21 stars on the items that are not Abzo that won't get replaced by Arcane Umbra. And then you focus more your efforts on those. So like on your accessories, on your so not too much on the armors, but mostly on the accessories basically. Yeah.
Okay. But the thing with the Arcane gear is the main concern is about the lucid droplets, because I don't think I'm gonna make a Canna farmer and then I
Right.
don't really see myself staying in Arcana for that long.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of indecisive on what to do.
Yeah.
So I just don't know really. I think it's more of a wait and see problem sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do agree. But just know that if you sit on 17 or 18 star Abzo, then that will be good enough to do all the content you want to do.
Okay.
We'll definitely need 2-line legendary. Your weapon, secondary, and emblem will probably need to be particularly good. And if you want to go beyond that amount of stars, then I would focus on doing that on the accessories instead, because then if you do decide to switch to Arcane Umbra, you don't have to replace 20 or 21 star Abzo, which you spent a lot of money on, but instead you can get to just keep your accessories and just switch out the other gear, and it'll be like more of an like a net plus with not as much invested, because all the accessories will just stay. Because I don't think the increased drop rate for the pitch boss set items is enough to really make a dent in what we're doing right now. The accessibility to Sweetwater Tattoo, Sweetwater Monocle is just so much higher, and it's so much easier to get 20, 21, 22 star on those rather than waiting for a Berserk or an eye patch, and then the small chance of getting that to 21 before it's even better than the other guys. I don't think that's gonna matter or gonna really come into play at all. Some people are going to get very lucky and get it early and then YOLO it to 22 and actually get it, but that's going to be like a handful of people in the entire server, and everyone else is just going to go hard on.
Actually get there.
Yeah. Well, it's some guy in my party actually did get that. That's a huge exception. So the main thing is just going to be to keep hammering out those solo voyages, CPQs to get those Dineros.
Keep doing those dailies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because it's like it's indirect value, right? You're hoping that you don't need them, but because you have them, you can Star Force without safeguarding maybe, and you can save a lot of money that way. So you're building up insurance basically over time.
Okay. I have a question for my gear about the drop gear.
Sure.
So if you scroll down towards the bottom, my drop gear is kind of a bit funky.
Okay,
Because
nice. I like
the
funky.
way I did it was a bit weird, because I was a bit what's the word? I was trying to save a bit of meso there, so I pretty much rolled for 100% meso, and then initially I thought the item familiar was there's a line where it says increases the item drop rate. So
Yeah.
I thought that had an impact on the meso drop bags, but then I discovered it didn't, and then I just had to find a meso drop rate familiar,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just wondering if I should actually at this point, because I've been saving up meso for the 5.10.17, I mean 5.10.15, sorry. I was just wondering if I should just roll for drop now. Or should I just keep saving? Because I'm not really sure on what to do there.
So you have 5 meso and the ring is in there twice,
I have one
right?
drop.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
just
Yeah.
got one drop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the item drop rate does affect getting meso bags. Item drop rate affects all drop rate for all things. So that includes meso bags, but the meso drop rate only affects the bags. So in that sense, what matters more is what percentage amount that affects. And we actually made a kind of a grid on that, like an informational sheet on that yesterday during the stream, because there are so many different lines on the familiars, and well, it is a small meso drop rate by a small amount. Is that 5%? Is that 20%? Is the item drop rate, is that 10%? Like, which one is better
so
here,
vague,
right? Yeah, it's so vague. And if you use both of these, you will see both of the buffs on the top right, because they're both active, right? Because they are not the same lines. But if you have, for example, one line that says increase meso drop rate by a small amount, and another one that says increase meso drop rate by a large amount, then only the large will work because they're the same named lines.
Okay.
So eventually what you want to aim for is just first of all is like drop rate in your equips, so that you have 100% chance for bags, and then for your familiars you can worry about drop rate later, and then once you get the drop rate there, it'll basically be to increase your nodes and droplets and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if I should just go for it now and then and then, or should I just do it later? But I think I'm leaning more towards just do it now because
Yeah, it's one of those
I
sooner
mean,
the better things because you'll have more time for it to pay off.
okay. Well, I mean that pretty much settles it. I'll
Yeah.
just start cubing again. Not a huge fan of the
Yeah.
cubing, to be honest.
It can, yeah.
Because tearing up, I always just feel like it never tears up. I'm always just like putting black cubes on it, and just it
Yeah.
just feels like it's going nowhere.
He's
So.
just burning him, yeah. No, I can feel that for a while for sure. And DMTs have not been very plentiful in the past, so yeah. So the thing with if you're going for the cubing, you're probably going to end up with something that also gets meso obtained while you already have 5 of them, right? So
Yeah.
if that happens, try to recube the item that has meso obtained but that does not have a line of luck or some all stat. For example, like your earring and your eye accessory, I would prioritize keeping those because they also have a line of luck and a line of all stat. But the other items that don't, if you double up or go like over 5 on meso or over 4 on drop, then I would recube the ones that don't have a line of luck along with it. Eventually, you want 1 line of drop or meso plus 1 line of luck, because if you get that on 9 items, that's 81% extra. That'll really help you not lose too much kill speed once you go to the higher level areas.
Yeah. So I managed to get the Awake Ring to legendary with all the cubes from the shop.
Yes.
But that one I'm just waiting to see if I should just start going for the drop rate. But obviously I should, so
Yeah.
I'll probably do some cubing tomorrow because I've just been waiting for the Maple Tour Meso as well.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah, and the potential stays and everything when you upgrade it. So even if you upgrade it later, it's fine.
Yeah, because there's also this rumor floating around where people were worried about the potential not sticking. But then I just decided to believe it would stick because it just made more sense.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful with going what makes more sense in MapleStory because you'll get burned. You're definitely gonna get burned on that one a lot. I have that discussion with my mom all the time. She's like, "Well, I just assumed this," and we're like, "Ah, Mom, there you go again, assuming logic." That's how we fail in life. Yeah. What I did is I contacted Kobe, who plays in KMS, and just to confirm that it worked like that for him. And he confirmed that in KMS it did stay, so I feel pretty confident then, because yeah, he wouldn't lie about that, and he's had the event before, yeah. So it's good to have some people to reach out to.
So that was really the main question for my gear, because with the 5, 10, 15, I already had a plan beforehand where because I wasn't sure if I was gonna get all my Absu gear in time, so I just during the 30%, I just did all the fodder gear. And then when the 5, 10, 15 comes around, I'm just gonna turn it into hopefully 17 star.
Yeah. So what are you getting the drop on? So the tattoo probably.
The drop. I have a spare for the tattoo, and then I can roll another ring, and then I also have the Awake Ring. So I would probably go for the either. So I have 3 rings at unique right now. So I'd probably just choose one of them and then try and go for drop there.
Whichever one gives the least damage. Probably the Silver Blossom, right? I think the other ones. The other one gives 18.
They're all about the same in my mind, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they're about the same. The EFS gives 9% dex, so that's secondary stat, so that gives a little bit more damage. So if you're gonna choose anyway, yeah. It's minor difference, but it's a little bit of difference. So.
A little bit. Okay. Yep. So I would probably just go rolling for drop.
Yep.
And hopefully get it within a reasonable amount of necessary.
Yeah, just don't say it out loud that you need it, because then the game's not gonna give it to you.
Yeah, I kind of discovered that actually. Because with running Golux, I've been always like, oh, now that I can solo it, I really want those earrings.
Yep.
And then it never seems to appear. And then with the Dom pendants, they just pop out like mad right now. I just got 2 in the last 2 days, and then I don't really have a need for them right now. So it's just like, oh, I don't even feel good about this.
They seem to come in waves for me. Sometimes I'll have a week where it's just non-stop dominators. Like, and I'll get just one every day, or maybe even two a day. And then I just won't get one for like 2 weeks. But then there will also be a week where I just get every single day I'll get a primal on at least one of my characters, and then I won't see them for a month suddenly. And it's really weird how it's that specifically clustered. It almost feels like there's internal events where it's like, oh, this week there's 50% increase in primals or something, that are completely hidden. It feels really weird how clustered they are, because I've been doing this for years now, right? So it's really interesting to see those patterns. But again, humans are really programmed to see patterns, right? That's why we're the dominant species. So sometimes we see patterns that aren't even there. So maybe it's maybe we're just making shit up that really isn't there. Yeah, stream is lagging a little bit. I don't know what that was, guys. It's just temporary frame drop. But I think we're good.
Actually, when you talked about primal,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if I should start going for the
Meister
what is
ring?
it called? Yeah. So I have almost enough materials for 2. So I was just wondering if I should start thinking about going, because I'm still at level 1 for my accessories. So I was just wondering if it's worth it to just start going for the Meister, or should I just keep on waiting till something else? I wasn't very sure for the Meister.
So
rings.
ideal scenario for Meister rings is if there's a no boom room. So, because of how difficult they are to make, I would definitely always try to do normal arc on your character, maybe on another one or two, if they can kill it, and always like harvest all of the big flowers in the veins you see just to keep building materials. The main, if you can make at least 2 rings, that's always 2 is like the bare minimum, I would say, to be able to make. But it's really gonna start coming in once you're going past, once you're starting to make dedicated damage gear, full set. That's like full 17 at least, but it's mainly if you're going like past 17. That's when you start really want to worry about making Meister rings and having having the ability to make backups and being able to make at least like 4, 5, 6 maybe. Because that's typically when people start aiming, and that's what we were talking about before, right? When you take way more risk on your accessories than on your Abzo stuff. And that's when people try to go for like 20, 21, maybe even 22 on Meister rings, transfer hammer 1 into the Gollux, and then another one, and then keep another one, and then basically you end up with those 2, and then probably initially you'll have your event ring, possibly because of the great base stats, and then eventually you'll replace that one by Kana Treasure, and probably then Reinforced or Solid, or whichever 2 of those last 3 rings survives the roulette. But because the Solid ring is repurchasable, you can get 19-star Kana Treasure and 19-star Reinforced guaranteed without having to boom them, because you can just get the Solid to 20 and then transfer hammer it over. So you really only have to start risking past 19 on anything that's either irreplaceable or really hard to replace. But the Meisters are like neither. They're not irreplaceable, and they're not, but they are kind of hard to replace. But technically, once you get like a lot of resources, they are quote unquote like an infinite supply, but not really, right? You need to be playing for a long time and get a lot of luck with primals. It's a little bit in between, like the Gollux equips and the Dineros, right? Like both are time gated, and both you can get backups for, but one is way easier than the other one, obviously. And the Meister rings are kind of like stuck in between, because there is RNG, but then once you get lucky and just get one primal, you can immediately make a whole new one. It's not like with Dineros where it's like, oh, you do one voyage and now you can make a new one. No, you have to do it like for a week or even more. About the Dineros, by the way, what kind of voyages are you doing every day?
Actually, I have there's a table of contents on the left-hand side. I think if you click on it, you can see there's a section for the etc. items.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have my ship there, the etc. Yep. So I have the Dineros, so I'm around 900 now. And then with my ship, it's just gradually going to the final upgrade. So I haven't really spent any after I've upgraded it once and bought the Sweetwater tattoo.
Okay.
Just been sitting on it really.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So this is level 2 boat, right? Sailboat? Yeah, it takes quite a while to get it to level 10 for the Dreadnought. Are you doing the furthest voyages, the Lith Harbor ones?
No, I've just been doing Dolce because it's just the easiest.
It
I
is
just have
easiest,
to
yeah.
just put 2 summons down and then I just AFK do something
Yeah.
else, and I come back, just keep feeding that for 10 times.
It is easier, but it gives you, for the amount of energy you expend, you get way less experience. So the leveling up to the final boat is going to be way slower that way. So if you wanna power level your boat, you want to do the furthest possible voyage that gives you the highest EXP per energy combination, and then once you get to 10, then you can, and you level it up to the level 3 boat, then you can just spam Dolce, and then you can take 6 items per voyage and have 120 energy instead of 100, and then you'll be making. You'll be making like 1 less dinero than optimal, but you'll have to do like some other funky shit to get 1 more dinero, and I would say that's not worth it. You just spam Dolce, and then you've earned your your retirement, so to speak, where you just press 2 summons and you AFK basically.
I see. Okay. So how long does that typically take? Do you have a rough idea?
Oof, no, I don't know those numbers because
Okay, no worries. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I'll give it a go, and then if I think it's too much effort, I'll probably just...
Yeah, on a day that you don't really want to, then you just do Dolces instead, or you skip it completely, like that's fine. But it takes a while already to get to level 10. So, but yeah, once you get there, it'll definitely pay off. It's I did all the maths a long time ago, and it's definitely worth it. So the main thing that's stopping you, I guess, is the Twisted Times and the Grand Spell Essences, right? Which is just...
Yeah, because for the primals, I don't know, they just randomly appear.
Yeah, 5 is good. 5 is like a good number where I would say like you can definitely get to Meister and start crafting. What I would say is you can already get your accessory crafting to 10 just to sit on there, because it only starts decaying once you go past 10. And if you want to get, if you're like, okay, now I want to make the rings, or now there's a no boom room next week, or like in 3 days you get the patch notes and there's a no boom room all of a sudden, and then you have to start from 1. You might take like 2 or 3 days, or you have to like buy an X to get the fatigue potions so that you can. And the rings themselves cost 100 fatigue, which and they have 15 minute or like a half hour cooldown or something in between crafting. So yeah, you have to like space that out properly as well. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've also got the profession coupons from the
when
you do the Root Abyss. So I'll probably try to get a few levels and then use those coupons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. In the beginning, it's quite easy. You just make rings are generally the most energy and resource efficient. You'll just need like, there's always one type of ring where you just need 1 jewel or 1 mineral, and then some crafting materials that you can buy from the NPC, or some monster crystals or something, and then that's going to be item crystals, right? They used to be called monster crystals way back in the day.
I don't know. Yeah, I've got a lot of materials, so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah. Getting up to 10 should be a breeze. Past 10, it starts being a little bit harder. But I also have a video on that with exclamation mark Meister talks about like which things to make and how to bypass some of the cooldowns by making all of the variances of the items, etc. So, have you saved the fine spell essences, the green ones?
I just save everything. I don't chuck anything away.
Yeah, you'll need those. Yeah, the only thing you can really start chucking away once you have a lot of it is the mana crystals, because anything that you need some mana crystals for, you get them like nothing. And you get way more than you ever need for anything. So if you have 1 stack of mana crystals, that's always going to be more than enough. And everything that goes above 1 stack, you can just freely throw away. But the other stuff, yeah, I would keep.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. And one thing to connect back to what we were talking about, like the Grand Spell Essences and the Twisted Times, the drop rate for those is going to go up a lot once you get more drop rate in your equips, right? So that's also one thing why we want to get that drop rate faster.
I think I underrated drop rate. Through like when I was playing back then. I don't know how to say it, but I think I underrated drop rate when I was looking at the message drop gear.
Yeah, back in the day, people did, because they would be bye farming and stuff. So there was very heavy just meta reliance on just getting the max meso obtain, right? Because they would just get the familiar, either the spider or the Eye of Time or the leprechaun, and that would give them 100% chance for more bags. So all of the drop rate was just taken care of. And they would also be getting some Groundswell Essences and some Twisted Times, just because they were killing so many individual monsters, and that would increase their total rate of acquisition by quite a bit. So they didn't have to worry about drop rate. So that made the whole mindset of everyone in the game, and that echoed like throughout all the other things, was just like Mesoptane, Mesoptane, Mesoptane. But if you have your max Mesoptane, but you don't have any drop rate, you're missing out on so much money still, because the bags contain a lot of money, but there's not that many bags, so you still need to get that drop rate for that as well. And as you go further into the game, node stones are so important, droplets become important. You can even get more symbols to drop, although that's still pretty rare. But all of this connects together to just more materials for crafting. And the worst part about crafting is seeing that you have some of the requirements, but then are horribly behind on one or two that you could have been on par with if you started earlier. And that's horrible, because then you have to start chasing, and then a bunch of important stuff might have to drop because you have to like go back in time and do stuff from before. That's why in the beginning I'm always like, get your start harvesting, get your familiars, get your traits, get your professions, like start that early, and then do a little bit over time. And then once you get to this point where you are, like, you have enough to make at least to make close to 2, right? The Groundswell Essences is like your crux. You're always gonna have something that bottlenecks you. For most people at your stage right now, they'll have like maybe a few more Groundswell Essences, but they'll have only 1 or 2 primals. So then that's their bottleneck. You got a little bit luckier on the essence, but you don't have the primal. Yeah, if you just haven't been playing that long, like that, you haven't had that much opportunity to get these items. So it's but yeah.
And also, the point of starting early is that usually you have to learn a harsh lesson in order for you to develop the good habits.
Yeah. Well, that's why I try to kind of pressure people into developing them as early as possible, so that it comes natural after a certain point. And I've also found that if you have the good habits of doing these things, doing these dailies, then if you don't feel like doing them one day, then you can just not do them, and it's not that big of a deal. But if you already don't have the structure of doing them, and then you also don't feel like it, then every day is worse.
Going a bit off for me.
Oh, on Discord? Hello? Let me check the... I've got 3 bars. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's good.
Okay. Yeah, I dropped a few frames earlier on the stream as well. Maybe internet is getting a little bit cucked, maybe. But yeah, it's showing I have 14 milliseconds and it's all green. So yeah, let me know if it happens again.
Okay, sure.
Yes. Okay. So usually I look at like everything else except for the equips first, and then we kind of go to the equips last. We already talked about quite a lot of things with the equips. If you have any specific questions that you have like written down that you definitely need to answer for, feel free to just ask those whenever you want.
For the equips, I kind of have 2 more.
Yeah, go
Actually,
for it.
3 more, sorry. The first one is about transposing. So I was just wondering, what should I be doing now? Because the daily flames have sort of dried up.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if I should just do a set amount of meso or spend it on flames, or is there actually a point where, like, say further on, should I look at that point where I should just try flaming for the Dom Pendant there? Or I'm not really sure what to do with the Dom Pendant and transposing.
You have a Dom Pendant that you're using now, right, for the set, and then there's another one you're working on in flaming?
Yeah, so I've got 2 15s. So one of them was originally for the transfer hammer, eventually for the sub pendant, but the other one has a 32 and 6% all-star flame. But I know that's a bit under what's usually looked for.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, should I just settle, or should I just keep looking for the flame?
Yeah, it's definitely trickier now because of the flame income. Yeah. Generally, I wouldn't think really about transposing and about like actively going out and doing it unless you have you have like a sea of dineros. You're definitely like past 17 on everything, and also you've pretty much switched out your set with like full superior Golics. Like those are more important to focus on first.
Okay.
So until you have that, and it's basically kind of at the same stage when you're working really on like making those Meister rings and starting to work on those. That's kind of so like transposing pendant, Meister, transfer hammering 1 into superior. Transposing the Papulatus mark is of course just if you get it and if you have the narrows for the other one. But yeah, I wouldn't. You could definitely be a bit more lax on the flames, because the income is a lot lower from it now. I've gotten 1 flame from Ramaru and all my characters combined since the patch, which is hilarious because it was like guaranteed 1 flame every run before. So that is quite a difference. You don't really notice how big of a difference it is until you're like, oh, I'm getting nothing. Okay. That's nice.
I definitely noticed it because I've got no more flames in my inventory, and it's just like, oh, I'm all out. Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you're like, okay, the first one starts flashing. Time to use all 3 of them. Oh, It's gonna be a massive flaming session going on.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So I think with flaming, actually that actually leads quite nicely into my next topic for flaming, because I know with my flame scores are a bit low on my absolute gear, but so the strategy I've been really doing is just flaming. I've just picked the worst item with the worst flame, and then I just chuck my daily flames on it. But now that I don't have the daily flames, I'm just wondering. I'll probably just spend some meso on it, and then I'm wondering if for the flames, do you look for that 100+ flame score before you move on to the next item, or do you just have it better than your worst item, and then you go forward with it?
Yeah, usually better than worse is usually what I go for. And then the way so how do you determine what is the worst flame?
Usually, I usually do it by eye, but I also, if I'm really unsure, I would go on the flame calculator, and then I'll just compare it. But with my gear currently, it's my cape, so I haven't started working on it yet, but I'll probably look at it in the future or so.
But so how do you compare them? Like, let's say your pants and your cape. Like, let's say that the cape had let's say the cape had 25 luck in the flame and 4% all, and the pants was 24 and 4. Which flame is better?
So I think the calculation is you treat the luck as the 1, and then the 4 you can just times it by 9 or 8. It's really dependent on how you look at it, and then you just compare it, and then you just see which one's worst. It's I think and then with the attack, I remember because actually
I understand. Sorry, but like I'm maybe asking like a trick question, kind of a little bit. But let's say that the cape has like say 25 luck and 4% all stat, and the pants has 24 luck and 4% all stat. Which flame is better?
It should be the pants, no?
Yes, but the pants is 1 lower stat, but it's better, right?
Okay.
Do you understand?
Not quite actually.
So at the higher tier, the same tier of flame gives you more stats. So what I was trying to get at, like, okay, maybe I'm trying to be like a little bit more too teachery here, but like what I was trying to get at is that whether a flame is worse than another one or better doesn't depend on what is the flame score. It depends on what is the flame score compared to how good it can be or how good you want it to be, right? If one flame has the potential to, like, realistically can be 40 higher, then it's like a minus 40. If another item realistically can only get 5 more, but it has a higher score, then that has a lower potential for increases. So I was trying to like, yeah.
Because the higher level the item, the better the flame is.
Yeah, for the stats, you'll see that the same tier stats gives you a bigger chunk. So that's why we aim for higher flame scores on higher items within the same flame rarity. So that's why I have the and the higher you go, the more difference you will see. Have you seen the progression grid of mine?
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah, so there you can see like what is the flame score that you're aiming for, and then based on what you have now and what you're aiming for, you can see like what is the potential gain on this item. And that's how I would prioritize items, is like what is their gain that I'm looking for right now. But then apply what you said as the second thing. Apply, okay, this one now has whichever one has at any given time the biggest capacity for growth, that's the one. So that would translate for me to the worst flame, but it kind of depends on your definition what you call a good and a bad flame. So that's what I was trying to, yeah.
Ah, I got it now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Because with the arcane gear, you can get some.
Yeah, you see people with some crazy stuff. Yeah.
It looks pretty nuts.
You see people with like 110 and 6 or something running around, and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. You're like, if that was just stat, I would have kept that, but there's like this whole chunk of all stat in there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And then for the flames is with the weapon.
Mhm.
But actually, now that I think about it, you don't really get daily flames, so
Mhm.
I think I'll probably just spend a set amount and then try and look for the tier 6 attack. But let's say if I don't find the tier 6 attack, would you spend more money just to find the tier 5 and then just to settle on that, or?
Yeah, so in general expenses, I would look at how much it's going to cost you to get the stuff to 17, throw it through the calculator, and like, you know, account for safeguarding, all of that stuff, and multiply by your items and count in some kind of buffer. And I also don't know if you've, are you planning to buy out the droplets in the store?
Probably.
Mhm.
I would probably just have to see where I'm at after the 5, 10, 15. But
Yeah.
then after that event comes, I'll have a lot better picture of
Yeah.
how much meso I'm gonna
For
have
sure.
remaining. Yeah,
So I think those would be priority over all flaming that you're going to do. So I would just focus on saving for those two major things. And then, yeah, when it comes to actually spending money on flames, which is, I think, way more of a realistic thing to do now because of the Remote change, is I would prioritize the weapon for sure above everything because of the chunks of attack. And I would probably initially aim for, what's in the progression milestone here for the flame? Probably aim for at least for the early late game stage, so like a tier 5 plus or tier 6. So hit a tier 6, or if you hit tier 5 with like a line of boss damage or with a line of all stat or something, then sit on that initially and then work a little bit more on the other Abzo stuff, because you kind of have to see it in the same way of like the possible potential for growth. Because when you're looking at going from tier 5 to tier 6 on your weapon, that's probably a gain of like 20 attack, I think. Roughly.
Something like that. I remember looking at the flame score calculator.
Or like a little bit lower.
Yeah, it wasn't too big of a difference.
What is it, a 192 base? Because you know how to transfer attack to flame score, right? So you can kind of do that with a weapon as well.
Yeah, so I just used the weapon flame calculator, and then I actually have it right here written. It's 77 for the tier 6.
Yeah, exactly. So that's 18. Yeah, that's a little bit lower than 20. Yeah, so that's 18 attack. So 18 into the flame calculator would probably be like a times 3, so that's 57. So you can kind of see that as if it has just a tier 5 attack, then the potential to go up to 6 is like a 57 flame score increase. But if your cape is at 30 and it can realistically go up to 80, then that's a 50% increase. So they're kind of similar in that regard. So you kind of want to see them in that regard at that point. And then the only way you can kind of smoothen the deal and lower that potential gap is if you add something to the tier 5, like boss damage, like percentage damage, like all stat, that can make it a little bit better. But that's definitely the priority. Like all the Abzo stuff first with the weapon on top, and then all the other stuff. But you can look at it in the same way of potential for growth.
So I don't really have to. Yeah, so I just don't have to care about it until everything settles down.
Yeah, you have the tier 5 already, so that's a good placeholder for now. But we do want to lower our standards just a little bit because of the changes, I think. Yeah.
Okay, got it. The next question is actually about the soul weapon. So actually, my weapon doesn't have a soul weapon on it, and then I was just wondering because there's two. There's a prototype soul enchanter, and then there's a production soul enchanter. I have no idea what's the difference there.
It's just the percentage. Yeah, the yellow one is 30% and the blue one is 60%. That's the only difference.
Okay, And then after I do that, does the weapon attack plus 20 come in, or
Yeah, so it
is it
becomes
after?
when it becomes a soul weapon, you can whenever you kill monsters, you see those little purple blobs show up, and that's when they gather soul energy. And then, dependent how much soul energy your sword has gathered, you'll get the weapon and magic attack buff. And I think when you had
Okay.
600 soul
So,
energy, I think it caps out at the 20.
okay, so I should just do it straight away, and then
Yeah, yeah,
I'll probably wait for the Magnificent Soul event for
exactly.
for for Soul.
Yeah, sit on the shards until the Magnificent Soul. Always just save them up until the next event. And then you know which bosses are the most important to do for that?
Yeah, so you're just looking for the SS tier, and then
Yes.
for the dailies it's Magnus, Vellum, and Queen.
Yes,
Those are
exactly.
the three important ones.
Yes,
But
very good. Yeah.
I have a lot of Arcarians.
Yeah. Yeah, Arcarium
That's
like always
funny
drops
how
4 almost, even with not even max.
funny how that happens.
I think I have a whole
But yeah.
character full of those, yeah.
Oh, well, I know what I'm looking for there, but I wasn't sure how the whole mechanic of the soul weapon worked.
Yeah, so making it a soul weapon, that will be accessible, and then if you would die in a boss fight, for example, or if you unequip your weapon, your soul gauge resets, so it goes back to 0, so then the weapon and the magic attack is lost. The only way to get like a passive boost from your soul is by having a boss soul equipped into the soul weapon, and then whatever stat that soul gives, that will always be active even if you just died or if you have no energy. So that's why people
Okay.
usually aim for 3% magic attack, 3% attack tends to be the best one, but boss damage, the IED, the crit rate can also sometimes be good. Yeah, at that point, some people
So,
also choose aesthetically, like which soul looks good.
yeah,
Hmm.
I'm one of those actually. I don't really
That's the
want
only
to.
thing, okay? I totally feel in that one. That's the only thing where I chose aesthetics over power, like because I had a magnificent Damien, and on the arc, it just looks so good together. So I was like, yeah, I don't care. I got crit rate, so I just reset my hyper stat points to get some value out of it. Like I don't need the 3% attack. I'll take the L on that one. You know, I think the magnificent Damien looks so good.
Actually,
So
got some magnificent arcs on the
oh,
previous event,
hmm.
but I thought they were just gonna be so ugly. I just put them in the book because I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
want to
exactly.
do
Book them. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Get rid of them. Yeah, so
Okay.
so if you want to like optimize your damage for bossing, then you would pre-charge your weapon before, so you have the 20 weapon and magic attack, so that you at least keep that until you die the first time, or if you have door until you die the second time. For mobbing, it'll just be always up because you're constantly killing monsters, so it'll be max charged. And then the using the soul's skill, the boss soul skill, that will consume some of that energy again.
Okay.
So
Is there a point in using it if you're not in class?
there's
Is it useful?
so basically no. There are some exceptions, but like as a demon avenger, there's the Aphenia soul, which gives you I think 50% HP, if I remember correctly, 50% HP and MP. That's actually a party buff, which that was probably really good like 10 years ago, but now it's like getting more HP and MP. Like if you're mobbing, you don't need it. If you're bossing, you just take more damage. So it's like whatever. But if your main HP class, then 50% stat for short duration is pretty nice.
Okay.
But apart from that, most of the souls that are attacks are just horrible. They either hit one monster for like, and then they kill one monster, or they hit all monsters for like one line of damage that doesn't really do anything. The summons can do something if you're not one-shotting, and then the summons like joining you and hitting could help you clear faster. But once you're one-shotting, either you KS the summon or the summon KSs you, but there's no real addition of kill speed unless you're looking at the normal lucid for the static soul. For endgame, even people who are not intellect classes will still use normal lucid static souls for like a corner of the map, just so they can make their map rotation more simple, and still kill on that side. And then sometimes they'll just go in full damage gear instead of drop gear because they're highly focusing on experience gains over net gains.
So,
But yeah, I
so
would.
they do just charge for the XP. Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
But that's like if you're
Yeah.
going 265 plus,
Yeah,
like
but
you're trying to get
that's so
275.
far
Yeah,
away.
that's yeah, exactly.
I finally realized how far, like, it's finally dawned on me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was actually looking how far from 240 to 250 would take,
Mm-hmm.
and then the EXP curve after that doubles, and then
Yeah.
I was just starting to look at it, and then wow,
250 is
it
pretty
kind of,
doable, but it gets rough after 250. Yeah.
yeah.
Did you see the curve past 275 up to 300?
I just don't think it's designed for humans to clear it. This doesn't
199,
really.
yeah, 199, 299 to 300 is 2 quadrillion HP. So
It just doesn't make sense.
right now
I
the
mean,
last level is 6 trillion. So you go from 6 trillion to 2 quadrillion, which is about 300 times the amount for one level.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah. It's, I mean,
so if you
it's
could do that in
just
5
crazy.
days, then it takes 4 years. Like that's kind of the comparison that you're looking at.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
just don't think it's designed for us to reach that level yet. So
Yeah,
I don't even know. How
it'll be
like,
combined with
to
some
say that.
experience increase because what they've already done right now is that they've tripled the HP and doubled the more than doubled on some monsters the experience for the monsters in the new areas already compared to what they were initially scaled as. But yeah, of course, the way you have to look at it is well, I think someone was saying that if you were like a level 298 with 20% or something, then you're halfway for the total amount of experience needed or something to get the 300. Yeah, obviously that has to be moved a little bit, I think, but I mean they're really
See what
making level
happens.
250 like the new level 200 or like the new level 100 depending on how far you go back.
Yeah, because with the 250, they've only reduced the XP curve to 250, but the 250 to 275, they haven't done anything.
No.
So
no.
I'm just wondering if they're just trying to push everyone
Oh
to
yeah, there's
250.
for sure, and also by adding the increasing the drop rate for arcane and by adding arcane drop rate to other bosses, they're definitely pushing people towards flying through the equipment set that you're using Fafnir and using it for like a few weeks, and then you're going into Abzo using that for a few months, and then boom, arcane. And what that indicates is that there's probably going to be an equip set past arcane that's gonna come around the corner, because they're always trying to get the people who have the best of the best stuff. They want to help. You have a group of people, so you have like the super casuals who don't really care, and you have the people who care enough to want it, but who just don't have the time or the desire or the capability of achieving it. And then you have the people who can put the time in and who have the desire and the will and the ability to achieve it. And then what happens is you always try to expand the you want to have the people kind of longing for that third group of stuff. You want to have them like looking at, yeah, well, it is kind of psychological warfare if you really break it down. But you have that like the desire of that middle class, quote unquote, in the game, right? That they want that kind of stuff that the quote unquote upper class has. And then what they do is they just make it more accessible to people. But at the same time, they come up with new stuff that's even harder to get, that then the upper class people, they can just start going for that instead, so that they don't care that what they already have is now easier to get, because they've got other stuff to worry about. And then everyone can feel like they're winning. Like the quote unquote upper class here can feel like they have new stuff to go for that they know is stronger than everything else. The middle class people can feel like they can finally achieve what quote unquote the upper class has, even though at that point it's not exclusive to them anymore. But it still feels good because they've been longing for it for so long. And then the people who are more casual, without really needing to do any extra effort, can achieve a bunch of other stuff that they previously didn't have access to more easily. And it's always a balance between how quickly do you do this, how much of the content do you make available, and I think that's a very difficult balancing act to do as a game, to maintain the balance of your game. And I would argue increasing the damage cap from 10 bill to 150 bill maybe isn't the smoothest way of making that small increase. But you've seen some videos of someone just nuking hard will literally in 3 seconds, and it's like, this is going in a weird direction. But yeah, I mean, these are people who are at that upper echelon of like draining every single source of damage possible. So yeah, we're not going to have that issue that much in Reboot because we have not nearly the amount of access. But
Yeah.
It's a difficult balance. But yeah, there is definitely some psychological warfare going on in how they go about that.
Your player base keep on playing.
Yeah. How do you keep them wanting more, and how do you keep them giving just enough more so that they keep playing, and not too much that they get bored because everything becomes too easy? It's a tough act.
Okay, I think we should go back. I think for the boost nodes, I actually have a question
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is I put 3 in for, so I just put the extra 2 in to get them maxed. But obviously there is a point where I need to think about disenchanting them and
Mm-hmm.
then just using those nodes for other things. But I was just wondering, at what point should I consider it really? Should I just do it when my other 2 boost nodes have maxed, or should I?
Have you seen this? Let me link it to you.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Because someone made it specifically for HoYoungs because you have so many skills to max.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, after a certain point, you do wanna consolidate. If you keep leveling though, that day will never come because you get so many slots after a while. But after a while, you do want to start min-maxing for your burst, and then there's a few more skills that you definitely want to get in there, right? You want to get the Goddess Blessing in there. I think, what is it called, like Last Resort.
Okay.
Do you not need speed
Yeah.
infusion to max attack speed?
You need it when you have green pot. That's the case.
Right.
So I
Right. Yeah.
typically swap it out with a holy symbol.
Yes. Yeah. Makes
But
sense.
I think with the boost nodes, I actually have all the pairs ready. It's just I just have because there's one set which isn't really useful, so I just took those out and I just put the other 2 which are more useful,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just to get those extra levels. So I think what I probably do is just max the other 2 and then disenchant, because I don't really think the other 2 are that useful in comparison.
The further you go, the more you you lose in efficiency, because the amount of shards you get back is way less than how many it takes to level it up. So
Okay.
typically, I'm okay with people doing like this kind of setup to help max out their skills, but I usually don't advise to go past like level 9 or level 10 on the boost nodes, because past that you lose a lot of efficiency for disenchanting. So if you can, I would stop leveling those up and definitely focus more on leveling the other ones up.
Okay.
But there is extra efficiency for HoYoung, because I assume when you make nodes, you just make node stones, right? This is where you say no. Okay.
I'm
do,
very
do,
confused.
do you know how you can craft node stones with your shards instead of nodes?
Oh, I haven't done that actually.
So because HoYoung has so many nodes that are good for you, so that the chance of getting, when you get a node stone, there's a very high chance you can just use it as a material. And all of the skill nodes, most of the skill nodes are useful for you as well. There's of course like a bunch of the decents that might not be as useful. But because there's such high chance that whatever node you make is useful and that you can apply it, and because a node stone only costs 35 shards versus a skill node is 4 times that and a boost node is 2 times that, it ends up being more efficient by just mass crafting node stones and just opening more node stones as you're still trying to max everything. As certain things start getting maxed and you don't need any boost nodes, for example, anymore, then it becomes more increasingly efficient to just craft the specific nodes. But as everything can still be leveled up, then just crafting the nodes straight up would be more efficient, specifically for classes like HoYoung where you have so many to level up.
Okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. I never thought about that. I was just crafting
Yeah,
a specific
I never did that in the
amount
beginning
at a
either,
time.
because I would play characters that had like, you have boost node, you want to boost 4 skills, and then you have 12 available in your boost node, so it's like, there's no way that it's ever more efficient. But the later classes have consolidated skills, or they just boost everything, and then that kind of turns that around.
Okay, I got it now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then for the nodes question, actually, it leads into the terror burning.
Yeah.
So I was planning to do a Mihal next for the terror burning, and then I was just wondering if I should save any of my nodes to what's the word, to use for when it's level 200, or should I just rely on the ones that they give you?
Oh, to try to get to 210?
Yeah, for the 210, for the 200 to 210.
I would try to rely on well, you get your skills, you get your 4 skills for free, right? And I think Mihail is actually like chunky enough to be able to get to 210 with just your four job skills, and that you don't have to use any of the nodes. And then what you can do to the nodes is basically the same thing that we just talked about. Is like you open them all up. You can even use the experience nodes to level up some of the boost nodes that you get, and then you extract them all, and then you craft those node stones that we just talked about. But because those are those tradable ones, and then you can trade them back to your HoYoung or to another character.
Okay, got it. So you all right. So it's so with Mihail it's enough.
Yeah, I would say so. His initial 4 V skills are actually are quite good, and they changed the Etherguard timing to be client-sided. Not Etherguard, sorry, Royal Guard. So it's also easier to hit those shields now, and that once you get 4 or 5 stacks, it's just like I think it's like a 6-second cooldown, basically just full AOE clear. That's quite big and hits quite a lot of lines.
Okay, got it. And then actually that kind of leads into nicely about the link skills. So I was just wondering, because I actually have my own, so I just have it all written down on what I want to work on. I was just wondering if the Thief's Cunning or the Cygnus link, which one's actually better? Because I haven't used both of them yet. So I was just wondering in general, which one do you think?
So if you're more, in your case as a HoYoung, if you're mobbing, I would use the Cygnus, and if you're bossing, I would use the Thief's Cunning. Typically, Thief's Cunning will be a little better if you're more of a bursty type class, with HoYoung still is, despite the 4th V kind of rounding out your DPM, but you're still pretty heavily a DPS class. So the Thief's Cunning would do well there. I noticed that you were 100% crit without decent sharp eyes on though, right?
Oh yeah, but actually I was gonna ask about the crit rate, but then after watching a few of these sessions, I just realized it's just better to use the decent sharp eyes and then plan for that instead.
Yeah. The crit rate is kind of like your the crit rate in your IED or your foundation, right? Your crit rate is your foundation for everything basically, and then your IED is your foundation for bossing. Those are very, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, so for the crit rate, because I was just really initially against the idea of using decent sharp eyes for the extra crit, but then after watching a few of them, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start leveling up the decent sharp eyes to make it a lot smoother to use with the increased time.
And then you can add the Night Lord and get rid of the Archer Link, because the Archer Link really doesn't do all that much for you, right? There's a bunch of other skills that are really good that are trying to get in there. Are you thinking about doing more resistance characters so you can stack the Spirit of Freedom?
That's actually the next one. I'm not gonna do Thief Link. I've actually learned how useful the resistance links skill is.
Because the first one, if you just have level 2, it's almost immediately gone when you respawn, right?
Yeah, but actually level 2 is kind of useful because I was like, wow, it's just level 2. This isn't gonna help me at all. But then after doing Sea Vellum one time, I got a
spawn into a tail. Yep, you're like, oh, you would have been dead. Yep.
I was just like, okay, because I was actually running Shade Link instead, because I was thinking that 10% must be more useful, but then I just learned that
this is more reliable. Yeah.
Time to swap that out.
Or respawning in Hard Magnus into like the tail end of a poison mist cloud, and you're just sitting there just waiting to die. It's like, okay. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna work on that next.
Yep.
I've just recently got my Mage Link and my Demon Slayer finished at 120, and then generally what I do is once I get them to 120, I stop, and then I try and see if because there was some AFK events. I see if there's some AFK events, and then try and push a whole group to 140. To
140? Yeah, that or just daily Zakum is usually a good way to get there.
Yeah, but with the daily Zakum, I actually did that method for my first batch, so I'm actually just waiting for another batch before I just run them all.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're trying to clump them up a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah, I was also wondering if I should do Monster Park for the 120 to 140 if it's worth it or not.
It's a lot of
Because,
experience, but as long as you don't have your Monster Parker badge on your main, I wouldn't do it.
the badge or the medal?
As the oh god, I always mix this up. Ghost Ship the medal. Sorry.
Okay, I
Yeah.
actually finished that on Saturday.
Okay, good. Yeah,
last week.
I would still keep the Sundays, the Saturdays and the Sundays probably for this character because those can give experience coupons. But then the other week ones, you can start using it to level up characters. Yeah, it is a lot of experience for those low characters for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I have a lot saved up, so
Mhm.
it's a lot of boxes saved up. So I think
I know
it's
that feeling.
okay
Yeah.
for now. Okay.
You got a
Okay.
buffer. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, and then crit rate is okay. I think.
You might also be able to lower the hyper stats for crit rate a little bit once you start moving those things around.
Yeah, I think I would just have to relook at all the available options and then start rejigging it, and then see what I can do. Actually, that actually leads me nicely to the hyper stats.
Yeah.
Because currently I have 8 in my arcane power, so I was
Right.
just wondering at what point should I think about redoing them.
Which monsters are you training on right now? You're in Arcana?
At LP1.
Yeah.
Which is Arcana, yeah. So it's 540.
Yeah, and how long are you gonna stay there?
I think I get to 240 something. I will move elsewhere to probably Esfera, the spider map.
And
one of the MTS maps, and then
you need 900, I think, right, for Sphera?
Yeah, I'm almost there, but I'm still missing a bit.
900.
But I think the reason why I'm so reluctant to redo my hyperstat is because I just don't want to spend the 10 mil. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a thing where you don't want to do it twice a day, every day, for sure. But in the grand scheme of things, 10 mil is not even like a speeding ticket, right? When you're looking at how much money you can make once you start selling weekly boss crystals and stuff. You have to redo your hyperstats every now and then, but I don't think right now there's any like pressing matter to do so. I think you can level up your maybe your ignore defense or boss damage. Yeah, one of the two.
I have quite a lot stocked up right now, so so I'm not in a rush, but I was just wondering at what points do I look at re-rolling the arcane power, the arcane force. Sorry.
No, you're good. It's technically arcane power, but they didn't rename the hyperstat because the hyperstat is called arcane force, but it increases your arcane power, which is just, they called it arcane force in the beginning, and then it was AF, and then they renamed it. I'm not sure why, and now it's AP, just like ability points and just like attack power. So it's like, I don't know. It's a weird. Yeah, you do want to get that 900, but that's like 8 levels away. I don't know what speed you level, but you can probably still level up your Vanishing Journey and Choo-Choo symbols and Arcana symbols probably relatively quickly, I'm thinking, right? Arcana is probably leveling super fast, right?
Arcana is the faster right now, because I can do the Spirit Saber pretty easily, and because I'm at Asphera, so it's only one run.
Sphera would be Sphera would be leveling fast, and you have the boxes and the symbols that you can get from the event shop, right?
Yeah, so I'll see if I have any leftover coins to spend it on those two symbols,
1, 2, 3,
the Moras
4,
and the Asphera.
9.
Okay, but I think
Yeah, you can keep it. You can keep it for now as long as you can like have that 900 in Asphera, and then if you stay in Asphera for like 5 levels or something, and you're going beyond how much you need, then you can redo it, and then you can optimize on your boss. But it's not like you're missing like a whole bunch of damage by having some in hyperstat right in your arcane power hyperstat right now. It's not that big of a deal because you're missing out on like 8% boss and a chunk of 3% IED. But you can even get that boss to 9 right now if you wanted to get that 4%. So then you're not missing out on all that much because you don't really want to go past 10 anytime soon. If you get at 250 and everything starts taking shape, your legion starts taking shape, you kind of have all the link skills that you were going to have, then you can start min-maxing and redoing your hyperstat. So there's no rush there.
No rush. Okay, got it. Okay. Do I have anything else? Let me see. It's largely all answered. Just I think I have 2 more questions. One's for the event ring, so it's kind of off tangent. I was just wondering, for event rings, typically what is the normal? Because with this awake ring, we only get one, this awake event.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just wondering, for other events, do we get more, or is it just usually just one event ring?
So they're really, if you check exclamation mark rings, I have like these are what usually are called like the event rings. Like these are the ones that that come back every now and then it can be very different. Sometimes there's just one available in an event shop and that's it. And sometimes there are all 5 available. Sometimes there's 3 of them. It really is like a mix and match. But these are the ones that come by the most. And then with big updates like Rise and oh god, what was the other big one? Chat. What was the other big event? The Glory. Okay, so like the Tenebris ring, the Glory ring, and now the Awake ring. These are like the huge ones, and these are the strongest that we have right now. But you know, in a year they're gonna come up with another ring that's even better, probably, and has like 2 more attack and 5 more stat or something.
A Neo ring, probably.
Yeah, well, so Neo, so that's what I was going to mention. So these will come back every now and then. But what Neo has now is you'll be able to get 5 random ring coupons, not random, sorry, ring coupons, and you will be able to exchange those ring coupons for either the strongest Tenebris ring or the strongest Glory ring or the strongest Awake ring. And you can only wear one of those at a time on your character, but you'll be able to get 5 of those for your whole account. So those will be like perfect Kana Farmer rings or just Kana main rings, honestly, if you don't want to spend a lot of money star forcing, or like the best in slot drop rate rings, or really, really strong rings until you get to like 250 and start min-maxing on your rings on any kind of main. So that's the ones we know of. But then intermittently, there's sometimes our events with ring shops, yeah, and then they'll have like right now they'll have like those special cubes that you can use only on the event rings. But then they'll be relatively cheaper than the other ones, stuff like that.
Okay, got it. All right, that's clear. Finally, the last question really is about Lucid and the golem mechanic. So I wasn't really sure how it works exactly, because I've seen clips of people somehow going past it. So I was just wondering, how does it work with the golem?
Yeah, when a golem spawns and when you see them materialize in the air, you'll immediately like basically take a tick of damage, and if they land on you, so I think if my numbers are correct, like if they get near you, it's a 30% damage, and if they land on you, it's 70% damage, I believe. So if you don't do anything in between, like healing or moving out of the way, then you're just dead to those 2 ticks. If you heal in between, you have like a little bit of time to move out of the way, but there's still physical damage from the golems from just being near them as well, which I think is like 15% or something. So you do have to heal in between. And what they have is they have like a vertical wall with them. So that means that where they are standing, you cannot walk past them. Sometimes people had like iframes where they could allow themselves to dash past them. But if you move past their vertical line in any way, you take the same damage as if it was landing on you, which is for normal, I believe, 70%. And then, but once they have that wall for hard, I believe it's 100% or close to. If you go very, very high, I believe you can actually pass over them without hitting them, but you have to be super duper high. Kala says you can fly over them as a HoYoung, but you have to be really high though, right? Or do you have to iframe first and then fly over them, something like that? Nerf HoYoung. With the Nimbus, can you fly over them without taking damage at all? Or are you talking about normal flying over them and then taking ticks? Because if there's like 3 next to each other and you fly over all 3, yeah, near the ceiling, you have to be insanely high. I don't know how quite high I have to say, but it's like 4 golems high, I think, will still damage you. But I think if you're close to the ceiling, really high, time to smoke some greens. Listen, it's like, oh man, but he said I could go over them, bro. That wasn't high enough. Give me another hit, dude. Yeah, you have to be like touching the edge of your screen, apparently.
The concept. I mean,
yeah.
Eventually,
so what will be tricky is if they spawn seemingly right on top of you. Sometimes it will seem like they are to the left of you, so you're trying to move to the right, and you'll still move into that wall, because their hitbox isn't that line isn't exactly centered around them. It's like a little bit like if the golem is facing the left, you would expect the line to be like right down the middle, but it's actually a little bit more. Oh god, is it more to the left or more to the right? It's just awkward if they land right on top of you. So as soon as you see one, you have to start moving. But if you notice that you press your arrow key and you're not moving, then you're pressing the wrong side, and then you immediately have to heal and move the other side. So sometimes you can kind of get saved by not having the Mihao skill, by not having knockback resistance, because you'll get pushed out of the way if the golem tries to land on you. But usually people still die to that because they will get pushed into another golem on the other side, and then they will take that touch damage for reaching in there, and then they'll still die. And sometimes you'll see people in the run like getting ping-ponged between golems that are like landing, and that's when you definitely know that they don't have knockback resistance on. So usually I go with knockback resistance and then try to respond quickly. And they're more dangerous on normal because they take limited damage per hit, and then on hard, once you have a strong party, they will just die really quickly. And then as long as you go in with door and you heal relatively quickly, and hopefully some party members have healing familiars, then sometimes you can survive more. Unless there's like two of them landing almost simultaneously right on top of you on either side of you. At that point, you're like, you just can't do anything, and you're gonna die to golems. But like we talked about with the other bosses, you'll learn to assess like what is a high risk situation, what is a low risk situation. When do you pop your little cinematic jumping through the meadow iframe? But so what you could do is if you're immune a little bit more, is first pop the iframe and then fly up and fly over them, and then you're like out of the initial danger at least. Yeah, other classes might not be able to get away with that, because they will have the thing where they can iframe, but then they're still in the same position, and then they become targetable again, and then they still die. Yeah.
Yeah, I discovered how strong the cloud really is after a few times bossing with it during Lotus.
Yeah.
'Cause it pretty much invalidates the whole punching mechanic, because you can just fly above him.
Oh yeah. If you're like fast enough to go up, as soon as you see the startup of the attack, you just fly up, fall down, and attack. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I discovered how strong that ability really is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think the only other class that has a very similar fly is Ilium, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's got like a similar float.
Yeah, the Ilium fly. But they don't have the flash jump, so
yeah. They have the teleport that teleports them like 1 inch forward and backward. At least it's a fast teleport, but it's not a great one. Oh, Jet can? Wait, Jet can? Yeah, with the car. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Beast Tamer has longer fly. Xenon can technically fly. They've got those boosters. I think Xenon and Beast Tamer were using it to get like to teleport in the hard will phases, to get both wills on the same screen and then start bursting them down together. I don't know, some weird stuff. But I meant like the same type of skill where you have like the same type of cooldown, the same type of flight duration. Like Adele can like float as well. Arc can fly, but like we're way slower. Like Arc has, I think, the same amount of booster time and flight time. More, well, at least it's not as bad as the mechanic now. You've seen the mechanic can also float and fly now, right?
For which class? Arc?
Mechanic.
Seen it at mechanic. Mechanic can fly.
Yeah, they added that in Awake, where like if you jump and then you do the same thing where you like down jump and then let go immediately, then you can like float around a little bit. But yeah, it's more for show than for utility. It's a little weird, but
well, I'm never touching. Well, I don't know if I'll ever touch my mechanic again, but
yeah,
for the time being, I'm just gonna leave it up on 40.
Bad experience at the garage.
Okay, all right. I think that covers everything from my side.
I mean, yeah, I think we meandered through almost everything. I guess the only thing that we didn't really address is your current secondary situation.
Oh, but actually, I have two secondaries right now, so I've just been throwing 3 cubes on the Princess Snow one to get it to tear up, and then I managed to tear it up, and now I'm just looking for something useful, preferably boss and attack. So let's just be straightforward there.
Well, wait, so it's legendary now?
Yeah, it's
Is
legendary, but
okay, cool, yeah.
nothing useful.
Okay, because in the screenshot it was still unique, so I was wondering. Yeah, so you'll just throw like if you get a Maestro or something, you'll throw it on there, right?
Yeah, that's what I did, and eventually, because I was quite skeptical if it was ever gonna tear up, but eventually.
If you do like 1 cube at a time, and then it feels like it takes months to tear up, right?
Yeah. didn't happen, and then now I just rolling for something useful until I actually spend meso on cubing.
Are you doing Master Craftsman's on your weapon then now?
No. I'm just waiting for the 5, 10, 15 because I have a Fafnir at 15. I'll just transfer hammer that over.
Right.
And
16
and
transfer
I'll start
16.
working on the potential. So
Right.
So actually for the potential of my gear, everything's gonna be on 5, 10, 15.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So save for. Yeah, exactly. So save for the 5, 10, 15, and then for the droplets not too long after that, and then the drop rate on your equips. And only then will we start thinking about like getting stuff to legendary and then slowly working on the flames. But until then, the flames is definitely the lowest priority. And then if you have flames, then like we talked about, like go for the one with the greatest potential first. Yeah, pretty much that. And I would say the last thing to go to legendary should probably be your CRA stuff. Because they have so many junk lines in legendary that it's actually harder to roll. Like I think it I would have to see the numbers exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's easier to roll 21% stat in unique than it is in legendary. Like it will cost less.
Okay.
Because there's so many extra lines that just horribly horribly bad. If you Pirat Kala showed a video. I think this is of the flying over the golems, I believe. Oh, so this should also allow you to immune the dragon, I think. Yeah, this is how high you have to go to get over the golems without getting hit.
Oh, I see. So you have to be touching the sky almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would allow you more to solo rather than but this is solo hard though, I believe, right? Yeah, this is solo hard because you see how quickly the golems are dying and how much damage they're taking, right? And then here you have to iframe. So use that guy. And then you get out of that as soon as possible so the cooldown doesn't go up. Wow. Because of how we used it there, that only goes on a 15-second cooldown. God damn, that's that is really a really low cooldown. Holy shit, yeah. You see right here, see that golem, right? He was gonna, if he was a little bit more to the left, he was gonna get stuck on that golem. But as soon as he saw it, he moved. So he took the fall damage, but then immediately out of it. Yeah, so it's all about responding quickly. But yeah, it'll take some. And that teleport can happen as well. If it's right into a golem, that's gonna happen sometimes. But of course, the faster your team clears the golems, the lower the chance that you actually have that happen. And sometimes it happens during the dragon phase, like this, where you get teleported. Okay, so he does the thing. So I think he does the float up into the fire skill, right? With the fire with the up, and then from there he uses the I think it's the flash jump into the fan flash, or what is that called? The skill called the blue fan attack, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's Gale, Heaven's Gale.
Oh yeah, that could be, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of moves you can use, but basically the key point is your consuming flame, the fire skill. It resets your cloud and your flash jump, so you actually have a lot of mobility when that happens.
You could cloud again after that.
Yes, yeah, you can do cloud twice technically in the air, and you can.
Oh
also,
damn. Okay, so you could cloud horizontally and then into flash jump and then into the real. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
It's kind of hidden. I don't think many people realize.
I want to main HoYoung now. What the fuck? Any new HoYoung mains in the chat? You could double cloud. Wow, that is actually really broken. Holy shit. Nice.
Alright.
You don't care about half the mechanics? Yeah, you just fly over them. Damn. Yeah, so slowly flame on the side. And it's not until like you don't really worry about your familiars at all either until you get to until you go to Moonbridge or anything like that. Yeah.
Because I have the ones I was the sort of recall is the drop rate and the 2 ID ones, so it's all good.
Yep. The one thing I guess I would still mention for the link skills is that the Angelic Buster is probably really good because you do have high burst, right? So that means that disproportionately.
I'll probably just focus on the utility more.
Yeah. For now, for sure. Yeah. But once you have like the utility, you don't really need to rely on the utility as much anymore because your mechanics get better. Then you can go harder on the damage so that the runs just are faster.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of low. It's like it's because I have it all mapped out. So it's towards the bottom end where after everything, all the link skills are done. I'll probably all the crucial ones are done. I'll just start working on the other links, and then once they're all 120, I'll just start pushing them up to the 140 mark, and then see which ones I want to take to 200.
Yeah, seems good. Seems good. The Legion. I mean, I don't know if you switched it yet, but you know you can switch the stats in the middle, right? Because you have it going through HP instead of luck.
It's from before where I liked HP for the early leveling, but I just never switched.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I would for like a mule to level a mule. I usually fill up HP instead because the extra survivability just makes the whole thing so much less stressful. Because when you go to a new area, you tend to get still quite a lot of damage. And in the beginning, you just use potions. You just use level ups instead of potions, basically, to heal. So if you just increase your HP, you don't have to use any potions ever, and you can get to like level 130 before you even have to think about equipping potions. So it's usually
unless you use I was doing the Demon Slayer, and then I realized I had to use the potions there because one of my skills was eating up my HP. And
oh yeah, you do have a healing skill. The Raven heals you, I think, for a decent chunk, but of course it has a cooldown, so you can't like spam it all the time. It's like a Raven attack is like an iframe plus a heal,
Yeah, but so my links are going pretty well, I think. And
I think so too.
Legion just naturally comes.
One thing I would say is that if you're on a mule or something, do you have two setups right now or just one setup for your Legion?
Yeah, I have two setups. So one's just for bossing, and then the others is all in crit rate and bonus EXP for the ID and boss damage. But as the Legion goes up and I unlock more of the grid, I think I'll just put it into crit rate. To get more consistent crits.
Yes, good. That's what I was looking for. You get top marks.
I think the links on Legion are pretty good.
Yep, and it's coming quite nicely. And you have enough coins saved up so you can get the level ups once that comes around. So you don't have to like, yes, I have the level now to save coins for 3 weeks to be able to afford it.
I have to level up at the base point, and then once I have it as the base point, I just spend my coins to the level up point. And then
good stuff. Good stuff. If you want to min-max your power later on, once leveling your characters, but we're talking about like 6 and 8k Legion, like beyond. But once you're leveling your characters get slower and slower, then working on your Star Force will allow you to increase your your raid power on the characters without having to level them. But I would use the if you ever see like a 1+1 Star Force event up to 10, those are usually good times to work on a little bit of the Star Force on the mule characters, because it's basically 50% off to 12. So that would be a good time to work on that a little bit if you have some disposable income at that point.
Yeah, but I think that's more for the later ends. So
oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Not too worried about that point.
No, but at a certain point, if you start playing a lot, the Legion coins will not. You want to be able to level up new characters by just buying potions and buying coupons and stuff and just speeding it up. You can go through like.
Starting to be very useful.
You could start spending like 2,000 coins a day or something if you get crazy. So, depending on how your spending habits are, that can be a useful investment. But yeah, we're talking about past 200 on the characters at least. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think through your questions, I think we got to everything. I think.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered all. Well, we covered all that I wanted to cover, so that's good. And then it's just all about playing the game now.
But I think you're doing the important dailies at least. A little bit of fine tuning here and there, but I think in general your goal is very realistic. And I think you can to answer that question again, I guess I'm pretty sure you can do that. 17 or 18 would definitely be enough. 2-line legendary. If you're not going to 18, then making sure you have like 2.5 lines, right? Like 30% on the Abzo and 27 on the other stuff.
Okay.
That should be enough. And then from there on, you start focusing on the transposing, the Meister rings, the backup rings, and trying to get all those things to like 19, 20, 21. And then you can get away with definitely keeping your Abzo quote unquote low. And then kind of peek at like, how do the rates increase? Do I get any drops? And then the Neo shop has 100 droplets of each. And then focus, if you're going to get your weapon, focus on getting that from the Will shop so that you don't, super front load on the Lucid droplets. That the only items, quote unquote, is the shoe, the glove, and the cape, that you get those from the Lucid shop, and then you get the weapon and the shoulder from the Will shop. Very similar to how you treat Lotus and Damien, respectively.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah.
your
This.
time.
Yep. No problem. And it's nice to see that you were well on your way. And I believe in you. You can do this.
Thank you, and thanks for giving me this advice.
Yeah. No problem. Oh, are you
Alright.
are you okay? Have a drink of water.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to have a drink of water. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you,
Good
and
day.
I'll catch
Yes.
you around.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, that's why for these sessions I always have the water near me. And drink regularly, because it's very easy to get like a dry throat after like an hour and a half talking about this nonstop, back to back. It's good to it's good to have water on you. Yeah, but nice guy. He's very well prepared. He had all the questions, and through those questions, we actually got to all of the pieces that we need to get to that were important. We got to crit rate. We didn't get to IED, but at this point, it's not a problem. And he's slowly going to build up his IED with his Legion and his links, and those are going to fill in the gaps. They're going to be a little bit of IED here. He's in no problem there whatsoever. He's definitely went on his way. He was worried about the arcane power. That's a very valid point. He can definitely keep the points now. I think it was mainly just a bunch of things that he was unsure about, but was already like 90% of the way there. So I was very happy to just be able to fine-tune some of the points and answer all of his questions. So that was a good session, honestly, and we kept it about right on time as well, even though we meandered a little bit. I have to I feel like when the sessions go very long, I can't complain because I'm the one who makes them go long. I start talking about, you remember back in 2008 at Maple Story when it's like you have to buy the Zakub helmets and shit, and like, I go all over the place, and it's like, oh, why are we over time by 30 minutes? Well, it's because of you dumbass. But yes, another satisfied customer, another great session, I believe. So I think a good advocate for HoYoung, especially now that we saw that video. I wonder how many HoYoung babies are going to be born after watching this session. Buying Zakum around 50k. No, it was 150 mil per hat, dude. And 150 mil was a lot of money, man. Holy shit. I even got like a friend discount. Some runs were like charging 200 mil. We won't get many new ones. I don't know, man. I don't know. One button mains complaining on Reddit. Well, I mean, HoYoung becomes a one button farmer at the end. But yes, if you like the session, good. Then I'm glad. I'm glad if you liked it. And check the description of the stream if you would like a session as well, to see how you can go about that. And if you want to catch me live, I'm on Twitch all day, every day. So come hang out. There are currently a lot of people in the chat just waiting for you to join so they can meme on you and have fun. Thanks for watching.